Did you ever scour a plastic Disney VHS case searching for golden genitalia?
Do you remember turning
That means yes.
Do you remember turning the volume up as loud as you could to see if you could hear what Aladdin was really saying?
If you remember hitting pause on your VCR to try and see a hidden word in the clouds, you might be a Xennial, and you might also remember some Disney VHS drama from the 80s and 90s. Hi, I'm Danny.
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Generation in Between, a Xennial podcast where we revisit, remember, and relearn all sorts of things from our 80s childhoods and 90s teenhoods.
Okay, we changed that and you messed it up and you didn't read it.
All kinds of things from being 80s kids and 90s teens.
I'm just kidding.
I think I said teenhood. Is that
Teenhood.
a word?
I don't know. We made it one.
It is now.
I said last week I made a change and we're going to do it, and then we didn't do it, but that's okay.
That's okay.
I was trying to just make it less wordy because we would always say 90s teen / young adult.
We would literally say the slash.
We would say the slash.
True.
So
true,
anyway, we are a mess. So
We are.
we have been trying to hit record, and it is live streaming somewhere that we
don't know what's going on.
know
Help.
what's happening.
Help.
So anyway, today, if you haven't figured out, we are going to be talking about some Disney VHS drama. Most of this actually happened in the 90s. Only one was the late 80s. And that's kind of it. This is a two-parter though with Disney drama.
It is.
So I took on the VHS drama, and Katie did research on Disney park drama.
Yeah. Yes.
So this is a two-parter, guys. So we're going to talk about VHS stuff, and then we're going to talk about park stuff.
Yep.
Woohoo!
In part 2.
Okay. So Katie, before we start and digging into some of the more famously or infamously known drama things that happened with Disney VHS tapes, do you remember any off the top of your head?
I remember the ones, well, because you and I had a conversation about this when we were thrifting.
Yeah.
So a few of them came to the forefront. So
Yeah.
I remember the phallic symbol on the front of some Little Mermaid cases, potentially. I never saw one until we were thrifting.
Yeah,
but
we have one.
As a kid looking for one and could never find it.
My OG VHS tape had it.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I remember, and we'll get to this, Aladdin on Jasmine's balcony, mumbling something that we'll get to. And yeah, I think it was Lion King, where there was like a word in the sky that was maybe inappropriate. Those are the only ones I remember.
Okay,
though.
Well, those are the big 3 that I've got.
Okay.
And then there was another extra one that I came across that I did not know about.
Okay.
So,
I'm excited
so
for that.
basically what we're going to do, I did some myth busting.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to see if it was for real or not. So I actually have answers to all of them. If they were real hidden sexual innuendos.
Yes.
And for all of you who may not know what the hell we're talking about, I'm going to explain all the things when we get there. Okay.
Yep.
So I will tell you if it was actual real or not, and then what Disney did about it all.
Okay.
So
do I need my script anymore?
No.
Okay, cool.
You can just sit back, relax, and get ready to go on a trip down the Disney lane. All right. So you brought up the first one. Yeah, we did find an OG case. It wasn't in the best condition of the Little Mermaid. And we have it. We'll put pictures on the socials. So Little Mermaid came out on VHS in 1989. And for all of you young folks out there, when a movie was released on home video, it was a big deal because then you could watch it as many times as you wanted. For y'all who've grown up with streaming, you have no idea what that's like.
And you would have to wait.
Oh, you had to wait. It took a while.
You go see Wicked, and then, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks later, you can stream it. It would be like a year and a half. And specifically with Disney, remember they would put stuff back in the vault?
Yes.
This was pre-Disney Plus where you can get like everything. So they might have something available for a year.
Yeah.
Like Snow White, for example. And then they didn't sell it.
And then they put it back in the vault. Yeah.
So it was like a big deal to get your hands on these movies when they were out.
And the Disney VHS tapes were very exciting because they were the first ones to put them in those fun cases. So like the artwork was cool. It was like those big plastic cases. Not all I remember most of our VHS like tapes were in like paper ones. Do you remember that?
I don't remember the paper ones.
They were like
cardboard.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry, I meant that.
Just like a thin cardboard that was the same size as the video. Essentially, you just slid it in and out.
Yeah. So anyway, there's actually a few sexual rumor innuendos with Little Mermaid. Okay. The first one is what we talked about, phallic imagery on the case in the artwork. So the original artwork on the VHS cover supposedly had a hidden golden penis.
Not so hidden, but yes.
In the center of King Triton's castle.
Yes.
Okay. We did find one at a thrift store. I do have it. The VHS tape on the inside is ruined, but I'm going to keep that case because it's hilarious. Okay. I actually found an entire article written by the artist who did the cover art. His name is Bill Morrison. And no, it was not intentional art or place there. But guys, seriously, if you look at it, I meant to bring it today and I forgot. It is definitely a penis. Mm-hmm. Like it is. There is no way.
There's just one. It's like, if I remember,
it's
like
and it's right in the middle.
It's like columns sort of on the front of his castle. Mm-hmm. And none of the other columns look like that one. No. There's one that really stands out.
Yeah. I mean, like, listen, there's a lot of penises in my house because I am in a house with 3. Listen, because I have a husband and 2 sons. I am very familiar with what penises look like is my point. And well,
I know, it's funny.
Just saying, how many diapers do you change your first baby's year? Oh my God, 80 bajillion.
Yes.
And then add into the fact that your husband's deployed half that time. I changed so many. Okay. Yeah. I know what they look like is my point. So I wish there was a more fun reason that I know why.
I was going to say, yeah, could be so many other reasons that you would know.
I know.
That's okay.
But there's not. Anyway, it definitely looks like one, but here's his story. Okay. I'm gonna
Bill Morrison.
Bill Morrison.
Okay.
The cover artist. And he went into like very big details of how he got the job, etc. I'm going to try and summarize it for you. Mm-hmm. So the rumor back in the day was that it was a disgruntled Disney employee who like did it like, I'm going to put a penis in the castle. He was not a disgruntled Disney employee. He actually was an illustrator / artist for a company named Willardson Associates. So they created like photorealistic work for companies, like commercial companies, like Nestle was another one they did stuff for. So Disney kind of contracted them out. Okay. So they were commissioned, I guess is what it's called when it's art. So they were commissioned. That company was commissioned by Disney to make the movie poster for the re-release of Cinderella, which happened before Little Mermaid came out. Remember we talked about that in our Disney episode. They were re-releasing classics in the theater.
Okay.
So movie posters are like a big deal, especially in the 80s. Like they were a big deal. And so they commissioned them to make the poster and they loved it so much. They hired the company to do them for more movies. Okay. So that's kind of how he got in the mix of things. They did the movie posters for Oliver and Company. They did it for the Rescuers Down Under, and they did it for Little Mermaid.
Okay.
So, but with Little Mermaid, it was a little different because Bill was also asked to make VHS cover art, which was different from the movie poster.
Okay.
Because if you look up the Little Mermaid movie poster, it's different than the VHS case. I don't know why. But whatever. So the cover though was based on the movie theater that another artist at another company did. I don't know why they like didn't just use the original artist that made the movie poster. I don't know. Probably because I have a feeling it's probably about money. They could probably just hire somebody else to do it for cheaper.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. So Bill Morrison is at this company and they're like, here, copy this poster. Well, not copy it, but emulate it as best you can for a VHS case. Okay. So the big part of the story supposedly that makes the difference he said he was rushed when he was making the art.
Okay.
So he said he had to pull an all-nighter and to like transfer this art and because everything was hand drawn back then, right?
Yeah.
So he was trying to hurry up and all he did was just kind of copy the castle from the OG poster. So the question mark is, did he copy the penis castle
from the poster?
From the poster.
Oh.
Right? Because he just basically, he wasn't like tracing it, but he was kind of copying it image for image, if that makes sense. So he said, I have a whole quote of his explaining.
Okay.
Because you'd think you'd notice, even if it's 2 a.m. and you get to the penile point of a golden castle.
Well, especially if you're hand drawing.
That's what I mean.
It's different nowadays if you're like literally in Canva just dragging and dropping stuff over. Or that's probably not what Disney uses, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But like back then, you would have had to draw the penis, right?
Well, yeah.
I guess.
So here's what he said. He said, nobody noticed that one tower in the coral castle closely resembled male genitalia. That's what he said. Nobody noticed. He didn't notice. All the people his stuff goes through didn't notice. He said nobody noticed that. Okay?
Okay.
He said not until a man in Arizona brought a copy of the tape home from the video department of Albertsons supermarket.
This is great.
The wife noticed the phallic image. He noticed the phallic image and he pointed it out to his wife. Okay? I have no idea what this man's name is. She was not amused and stormed off to the store to demand they take the video off the shelves. How dare you have a golden penis? Apparently, the store manager refused, but they did compromise. And Bill says, I know this because Dave, Calvin, and I, those were his coworkers, watched an ABC News report in the studio on the evening that the story of moral depravity broke, in which a pan shot showed a shelf full of videotapes clad in brown paper lunch bags with Little Mermaid scrawled on each one in magic marker.
So they censored the covers.
That was Albertsons.
But they still wanted to be able to rent them. Yeah.
That was Albertsons' quick fix.
The brown paper bags with magic marker. I would have loved to see that.
I know.
Just how Disney would have envisioned the aesthetic to be.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
So that's
said, how he found out.
Yeah, that's how he found out.
Oh
and he
God.
said that was the moment the scandal like took off and everybody. Now, Disney did recall the cover pretty quickly and they corrected the imagery and they replaced it. Even though it wasn't intentional, supposedly.
Yeah. I don't know.
I
have
know.
a really hard time believing any of that.
I know.
I don't know.
But according to everybody there, they said no, it was not intentional. Now, I don't know. We've all been up late working on projects of whatever. So sometimes things do slip through that you don't notice.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I think yes, but that's when like my colleagues or coworkers have stepped in and been like, is this the word you meant? Are you missing a paragraph here? Are you like, because most work goes through, especially corporate work. It's different if you've got your own blog or podcast.
Yeah.
And mistakes slip through. But in like a corporate structure and you're a third party that then goes to Disney who then approves the art.
Right.
I think it's very odd
that
it got by that many people.
I know.
Weird.
Anyway, so documented answer is no, it was not intentional.
Okay.
And if any cases you get after a certain year, do not have the golden penile tower. But
wow. That was a really fancy way to say that. Golden penile tower.
What? But if you look in, thrift stores, you can probably find one.
I mean, we found it like that's what we went looking for.
I know.
There was 7 or 8 maybe Disney Renaissance VHS tapes in there.
Yeah.
And immediately we're like, oh my God, is the Little Mermaid in there? Yeah.
My point is they're not hard to find. The OG cases are not
well, they would.
Find.
I'm sure if they were for rental. Oh, well, but that was the other thing. Couldn't you rent before you could buy?
Yeah. I mean, no, ours that we had in my house had the PP on it.
I'm guessing they printed a bunch even if they weren't for sale yet. Maybe that's what it was. It was too late. Like they were already out in the world to be sold.
I didn't dig into the depths of all this because I was like, it doesn't matter. Okay. Right. So there was another, do you know the other hidden sexual thing in Little Mermaid?
No.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
And I remember this one because I remember when I heard the rumor and me and my I didn't hear it till I was like a teenager and going through and finding it and laughing our faces off. So in the scene where Prince Eric is hypnotized and he's marrying Ursula in her human form. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. There's a brief moment. There's a short priest who's standing on a box to marry them.
Yes.
Okay. There's a brief moment during the ceremony, right when he says, "Dearly beloved," and you can see a little something pop up in his robes.
What?
Yeah. Okay. The moment, if you're watching it, you can see it, but it's like a split second.
Okay.
But only when it's like in slow motion that you're like, oh my God, the priest has a big ol' erection. Seriously. Okay. Now, I've seen it and I know it's there. So it's there, but I'm going to give you Disney's explanation for this.
Okay.
And it does kind of make sense.
I'm sure, I'm just guessing.
Yes.
And you can correct me. It just has something to do with animation technology and something not transferring over right.
Well, Disney said that the supposed erection is actually the officiant's knee.
But why?
Well, it makes more sense because he's like bouncing up and down. He's like, he moves around a lot. And so when he says like, "Dearly beloved," he like is bouncing, not bouncing, but he's like moving around.
Okay.
Which it does kind of make sense.
Okay.
Once I knew that, I was like, oh.
Yeah, that could be his knee. Okay, so it wasn't an animation mistake.
No.
It was deliberate, but it was his knee.
Supposed to be his knee. Because he was short. Remember I said he's standing on a thing. But the scene was so controversial that a lawsuit was filed against Disney. And we'll talk more about it when we get to the Lion King stuff because it's related. But the lawsuit was dropped. And the controversial scene actually was edited. So the officiant's supposed knee has been smoothed over.
But you've seen it. So it's not edited everywhere.
Well, you can still find clips of it online.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. But like if you go on Disney Plus, the official one there is going to be the smoothed over. Got it. So look on YouTube instead.
Yeah, you can find it. And you can like Google it like and see the snapshot. Like if you pause the VHS and you're like, oh, so you didn't know that one.
I did not know that one.
Well, now you're going to look it up.
I do have to.
So Disney said, no, that's not. Now, I mean, it does make sense. But again, why did nobody notice that?
Yeah.
Like, hey, that might look like an erection.
You would think on a big screen, especially. Because even the Disney executives, in theory, they would go to the premieres and stuff. But I mean,
but also if you're not looking for it, it happens so fast.
I agree. Who figured it out? Is there story like the Albertson story for the cover? Someone pointed it out at some point.
Yeah, I couldn't.
And then it probably just took.
I mean, like urban legends do. They just kind of spread and rumors kind of.
Who knows?
Sometimes like we know the Albertsons thing was the moment.
Yeah.
But
other times not so much.
But maybe other people noticed it too. It just didn't get any airwaves until
and again
till a Karen got mad and
I say young people. The Karens back then would have been making phone calls and stuff, no emailing, no social media, like to get people fired up. They would be having to like call Disney, call their representatives, call whoever to complain about the indecency, which is, I guess, probably what the lawsuit was about.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get there because it's coming up because Lion King is next.
Okay.
Okay. So Lion King came out on VHS in 95, which I was like, oh, that's later than I remember.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's the year it was released on video. Now I don't remember what year it came out in the theaters, but
yeah.
Okay. So the drama associated with this VHS is about halfway, maybe 3/4 through the film. Simba, Pumbaa, and Timon are lying on their backs looking up at the stars.
Yeah.
Okay. That's when he's like, I think it's like after the Hakuna Matata fun time. Simba stands up and he walks over to the edge of a cliff and he kind of flops to the ground and like dust comes up.
Yes.
You remember this? So they like kind of come up and then they kind of disappear into the clouds that are like rolling by. Well, the angles in the dust particles look like they spell out the word sex. It looks like it says SEX. I also remember this one going through because I was a teenager in 95 and pausing, and I definitely could see that. So you could capture that pretty easily. Like if you paused it right or slow-moed it, that it was pretty evident.
Yeah.
Now, the real story about this is that it actually was intentional, but it wasn't spelling S-E-X. It was S-F-X. The special effects department threw that in as like their own little inside joke Easter egg. So it was intentional, but if you look at it again, you can clearly see it's an F, not an E.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And yeah, because the dust particles are kind of moving too. So it's not like bright neon lights that's spelling a word. It's kind of vague anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, there was one of the film's animators is like on record. His name is Tom Cito. Said, yep, we actually did spell out a word, but guys, it's just SFX because
special effects rock.
Yeah, because we wanted our own little joke in there. But here we go with the lawsuit. Okay.
Oh, God.
All right. So a family member of a young child who the kid noticed the cloud lettering. They contacted a conservative Christian organization called the American Life League. Have you ever heard of them?
I have not heard of them. I thought maybe you were going to say like Common Sense Media or
I don't think they were around yet.
Okay.
And they actually had been publicly boycotting Disney films since the previous April, claiming that they had deliberate hidden messages. Okay. The Little Mermaid stuff. That's where that comes in. They made this cloud imagery. They used the cloud imagery in their marketing campaigns.
Wow.
It was like the highlight of their marketing campaigns that September against Disney, because they were telling all the parents to boycott Disney. Like, doesn't this sound familiar? Like conservative Christian organizations raising nonsense. So this lady named Janet Gilmer actually filed a lawsuit against Walt Disney Company and Buena Vista Home Video. Remember, that's who did.
Oh, yeah. I can see the little
logo.
Yeah.
In Washington County Circuit Court, claiming they had hidden sexual messaging inappropriate for young children in both The Lion King, which is the scene, The Little Mermaid, the cover art, and the erection scene. Okay. But I don't know what happened. She took him to court, but she actually dropped the case a couple months later. Yeah.
I wonder if they just paid her off.
I don't know. I couldn't find any documentation of what happened with that.
But Janet doesn't seem like the type to back down unless there's a good incentive for her.
So what are your thoughts on that?
On
all of it.
So my first thought when you were saying like, oh, for all these reasons they filed this lawsuit is that's a great way to get more people to watch the film.
Right.
Like even if you're like, oh my gosh, it does seem inappropriate, you would still probably want to look for yourself.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would hurt Disney. Now, if it was very overt stuff, like more obvious that they couldn't explain away, I could see it hurting Disney and people being like, oh my gosh, But obviously it didn't.
Right. Well, and I think too, it's funny because I wonder too, like Disney's on documented saying like, no, that doesn't say sex. It says SFX. No,
Disney.
Right. We took that out anyway. Like she didn't really have anything to go on.
Yeah, I agree.
Because if they're like, actually, no, and here's the proof.
Correct.
What are you going to do? And it's not cheap to take people to court.
No.
Like it's expensive.
Yeah, so maybe that's why she dropped it. Maybe she
was like, okay, tail between my legs. Let me turn around.
Yeah. Like I thought I had a case, but now that you're actually showing me what it truly is,
so they say, but they had receipts to back their tail up. So
they did. Okay.
So that one was, yes, that Disney drama actually did it. It's halfway true. It does spell a word, but not the word you think.
Okay. Fair.
All right. So you mentioned the Aladdin one.
Yes.
Okay. So now we're to Aladdin. Aladdin came out in 93. So this Aladdin came out before Lion King. Okay. So I'm sure they were part of their like nonsense.
So the order was for VHS, I think around this time was Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King.
I don't know. We'd have to look back.
We have to look back on our Renaissance. I feel like yes.
We'd have to look back and see.
Okay. Because Little Mermaid came out in 89 VHS, you said. So that would make sense because Beauty and the Beast was probably 91, 92 VHS. And then Aladdin, and then, okay. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, I brought up Lion King first because it was related to the court case.
I just, know my brain.
I know.
It's just putting them all in
Put it in
order.
So I know that kind of messed with you. Sorry.
It will take the next 10 minutes for me to recover. So please go on and talk.
This one was before Lion King. I just brought up the other one because of the court cases. So the incident in the hidden sexual innuendo in Aladdin, supposedly, Aladdin, when he is dressed up as Prince Ali, he goes up to Jasmine's balcony on the magic carpet, and this is where they're talking about how he's not self-absorbed and blah blah blah. But when he steps on the balcony, Jasmine's tiger Raja growls at him or whatever and is in his face, and as he growls, Aladdin tries to shoo him away and then supposedly whispers, "Good teenagers, take off your clothes," which is just kind of a dumb sentence.
Of all the things to slip in there, why would you say that?
Well, the fucking Aladdin told me I better go do it. I don't know. That's so stupid. Anyway, so that's the urban legend rumor.
Yeah.
I also remember this. This one's a little murky because you can't really, once somebody tells you that and you listen to it, you're like, oh, it kind of does sound like that. But it also kind of doesn't. Right. Have you ever listened to this?
I've listened back to that one, yeah.
Okay.
You said, it's okay, it could be.
Right. But is it?
Yeah.
So the story for this one is kind of interesting. I don't think it's really exactly cut and dry, but here we go. So one Disney representative claimed the script called for Aladdin to say, "Come on, good kitty, take off and go."
Okay.
Which makes sense. Okay. But the closed captioning had him uttering, "Good kitty, take off." However, neither one of these phrases really match what you hear. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't really go. Once you listen to it super close, you can hear Aladdin saying, "Come on, good kitty." But just as he says the word kitty, there's a second voice that's kind of whispering, "Psst, take off your," and you can't really understand what the next word is. So I actually found an old Snopes article.
Yes.
Remember Snopes?
I love Snopes.
That actually had the sound bites where you could listen to several tracks that somebody had pieced apart.
Okay.
It's really interesting, but hearing the final edited version that's in the movie, I think you can definitely hear "good kitty."
Okay.
Instead of "good teenagers."
Totally different words. Yes.
But then it's just kind of garbled nonsense.
Okay.
If I tried to, when I listen to it, be don't hear anything that you think you're going to hear. And it's really hard. It's blah, 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 blah. It's you can't really understand it. So go find the Snopes article.
Okay.
Look for the sound bites.
Put it in our notes.
But it did kind of sound like it could say either one of or any of the options.
Yeah.
It really did.
Also, I think whatever they said the original line was supposed to be, "Come on, good kitty, take right off." That's a weird phrase, right? That's awkward.
Yeah.
Even for the 90s? Would anyone... I mean, I know that was forever ago now. Antiquated. But I don't know anyone that spoke like that.
I know. So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. There's actually a whole article written on this rumor. In 1995. A writer named Lisa Bannon wrote an article in the Associated Press. Okay. She actually talked to a few moms. And this is so funny. One mother was quoted saying, "I felt as if I had entrusted my kids to pedophiles. Oh, it's like a toddler introduction to porn."
But what?
I know. I was first of all, what have you watched porn? Because I'm pretty sure.
Second, your toddler probably isn't hearing any of this.
Right.
We can't understand what he's saying.
Exactly. You have to really be intentionally listening to hear what it says. And
plant the idea in your toddler's head for them to hear it.
Exactly.
Otherwise, they're not going to.
Right. A 3-year-old's not going to be running around saying, "Good teenagers, take off your clothes," because you can't understand it.
Yeah, no.
Disney actually responded to the article. And they said, if somebody is seeing something, that's their perception. There's nothing there. they officially said Aladdin's line is "Scat good tiger, take off and go."
Scat good tiger, take off and go.
So everybody out there, go listen to the sound bites. We're not putting them on here because we do not need Disney to come for us.
No, we don't.
But go look up the sound bites and tell us what you think.
Okay.
Okay, because I think this one, I don't think was intentional because it's a stupid sentence. Like, why would they put in "good teenagers take off your clothes"? It makes no sense. Why wouldn't they put something better in?
Yeah. I don't know what. I was trying to think of something better.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I could think of a lot of dumb phrases I would sneak into.
Yeah.
Like, why would you put that?
Of all things.
It's Disney. They can be way more creative.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So anyways, that one is debunked.
Okay.
Supposedly. So far we've debunked all the ones.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep.
But
I'm still not convinced on the cover. I get
I know.
I get that the official story is it wasn't on purpose. I'm not convinced on that one.
Right.
But the other ones,
same.
Yes.
I'm with you on that. Mm-hmm. I still think there's a possibility that is definitely purposeful penile drawing.
Golden penile tower.
Golden penile.
On purposeful golden penile tower.
We need a shirt that says that. I believe in the purposeful golden penile tower. I believe. All right. Anyway, this is the one I came across. I did not ever know about. And it's interesting you said something about the Disney Vault because this one has to do with the Disney Vault.
Okay.
All right. So the original Rescuers, not the Rescuers Down Under, the original movie, The Rescuers, came out in 1977, the movie. Okay. It was re-released on VHS in 92, then went back into the vault in 93. Okay. Stay with me here.
Yes.
And then it was re-released again in 99. So remember how they did that? They were like, coming out of the vault for a limited time only.
Yeah. And they meant it.
They did.
That's like 7 years that went by for that one. Yeah.
So anyway, so when it was re-released in 1999.
Okay.
This is what we're talking about, not the other times. About 38 minutes into the film, you have the little rodent heroes, Bianca and Bernard, which is adorable.
So cute.
They're flying through the city in a little sardine box. And as they're flying through the city in the skyline, passing through buildings, there is a real life photographic image of a topless woman that can be seen at the window of a building in the background in 2 different frames.
Dang.
Yeah.
Right in a row or like once and then you see it again?
Well, first it's in the bottom left corner, then it's at the top center portion.
Okay.
But it's the same picture.
Oh my God.
This was actually true. This was actually somebody intentionally put that in there from the OG movie.
So it is in the OG or it's not?
Yeah,
it is.
Well,
just nobody
they fixed
noticed
it, but
till 99.
Correct, because it happens very quickly.
Got it.
So when it was originally created back in the 70s, somebody was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna put this topless lady," and this was, cell animation, but it was a real picture, so they must have done like an overlay or whatever. So Disney said the images were not placed in the film by any of their animators, but were instead put in during post-production process. Okay. I don't know what that means. I don't know any of the techniques with animation or whatever. But, their animators do their thing and then it goes through and
pass it along. Yeah.
So they said that's where it happened.
Okay.
Supposedly. The company decided to recall 3.4 million copies just 3 days after the re-release in 99.
I'm not sending mine back.
Right.
If I have that one, no, thank you.
And they said they recalled them to keep our promise to families that we can trust and rely on the Disney brand to provide the finest in family entertainment.
I wonder what Janet thought about this.
I know.
After she gave up, she was like, I told you
they're jerks. So it was kind of interesting what I read about this because it said that their announcement of the recall was considered kind of a bit curious by some at the time because unlike previous rumors about hidden items in animated films, knowledge of the hidden images in this movie was not widespread until Disney made a public statement about it. Like, there weren't a lot of rumors going around. They were ahead of the game.
But then you alert everyone to it by being ahead of the game.
And like I said, it happens very fast. The frames in question, you do not notice in a normal viewing of the film because they're flying, right? So it's fast.
Right.
So if you're in a movie theater, you would have missed it. But you have to know that they're there, and then you have to freeze frame exactly at the right spot.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe they were just being proactive to manage it.
Right.
But some people thought maybe they were trying to boost their sales of a slow selling video, which was not selling well.
I mean, yeah, this is the one I hadn't heard of.
Right. But I looked it up, saw the freeze frame.
No, yeah, but I'm
definitely
just saying,
a lady with boobs.
I think those other, so the Rescuers originally obviously came out before the Renaissance stuff. And then that stuff in comparison, I'm not saying people don't like the Rescuers, don't come for me. But those other films are so much more popular.
Well, it was an older movie. Yeah.
And Rescuers was older, and it was before all of that. So I could see how when it came out, maybe it didn't get the same reaction from people.
Honestly, I really am on the other side of it. I think they were just trying to be like, oh, shit, let's put this fire out before it spreads.
Yeah.
Like, once they realized it was there. However it came to be.
However that happened.
Because, I mean, it's Disney. They got to save their ass, especially because in the past few years, they had been raked through the coals with like, oh, you have all this hidden imagery. And they're like, no, we don't. And then actually, this one was real.
No, actually, there are boobs.
They're like, oh, yeah, this is actually in there. So it took them a few months to reconvene it or whatever they do. And then they re-released it.
Interesting.
So you can't get it anymore.
I'd be like, no boobs, I don't want it. Now that I know they're there for a split second, this one's trash. Take it back.
But I hadn't heard of that one. Yeah. Like, that was a new one for me.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah,
Listeners,
but of course
you'll have to tell us if you knew about this one or you remember it, or if you owned one of the recalled ones ever.
Yeah. Because like, you know, when they do recalls, like you have to send it in. Do people just not? And they're like,
I wouldn't.
Right?
Well, one, I wouldn't be bothered by it if you really can't see it unless you're trying.
You really can't.
But second, I'd be like, that's kind of cool.
I know.
And I have this copy of this thing that they're not going to make anymore.
Right.
I'm going to keep it.
Right.
That's what I would do.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's all I got. That's all my.
Those are awesome. Those are really good.
So
lots of VHS drama.
We'll leave it up to you guys to decide if you think this was intentional hidden messaging or just creative mistakes.
I love it.
Or obviously hidden messaging that said something that was not sexual.
I think this was really good research, by the way. So good job.
Yay!
Because I do think the Aladdin and the Lion King are debunked for sure.
Yeah.
It's the Little Mermaid and maybe the knee thing. I don't know. I don't even know about that one. I could see it. But I could also see an animator just trying to be funny.
I know.
And slip something in there.
Maybe it's both. Maybe he's both. Like, oh, this is the knee. But it could also look like.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
That's being a little sneaky.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And don't forget to tune in for part 2, guys. Disney Park Drama.
Which I
tried to keep in the 80s and 90s. A few things spill over a little just because
it happens. It's
the lore continues. But
somebody asked me, I told them we were doing this. And they asked me if you were including something. And I can't wait to see if you included it.
I hope I did.
I know.
I'll feel really sad
if not, I'm going to have to tell you and you're going to be like, how did I miss that? But I have a feeling you have it.
Okay.
All right. So tune in and see.
Yes. Tune in.
Yes.
Awesome. And make sure you are reviewing us wherever you're listening. Please leave us a free review. That is the best way for people to find us. You can also leave comments on Spotify on the episode.
Oh, you can?
Yeah. So you can just write in there, leave a little comment, and then that helps other Disney fans or Disney haters, hey, either way, find these episodes. And also come on over to Patreon. Become a bonus. Come on over. What'd I say the last time? Come on the podcast. Bring your friends on the podcast. No.
We don't have hidden sexual messaging. It's just direct.
It's just straight up. Yeah. I mean, it was funny because at the beginning of the episode, you kept saying phallic. which it was. And in my head, I was thinking, I wonder why she's just not saying penis. And then you were like, then you like broke through and you're like, so there is a big golden penis.
Because in all the research, that's what it said. It just said phallic.
Yeah.
It did not, a lot of the stuff I write was like phallic.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it. I just wonder, I was thinking in my head, is she going to say that the whole time? And then you didn't. Then you said golden penile tower or something. I was like, okay, we're good. We're good. We're going to use all the different words for the thing and it'll be fine.
For the thing.
The thing. Okay.
All right, everyone.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. See you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.